Good afternoon. I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News, coming to you from our digital desk. We're about to take you live into court where we have a very unique sentencing on our hands that's going to tear a family apart no matter which way you look at this. This is the case of a young man who got in an argument with his own brother while helping his mom move into her new home. During that argument, he pulls out a gun and shoots and kills his own brother, and he is now going to be sentenced. He has pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter, felony assault, aggravated menacing, and today, like I said, is sentencing day. A number of the family members, as you can see, are in court, and it's just one of those situations. We had one just a week or two ago where you had a family member killing other family members, and the sentencing for that, you had people who were torn when they got up to give their victim impact statement. Here you are mourning the loss of a son, of a brother, but yet it's the other brother that's getting put into prison. And there he is, Rodney Curley Jr. Again, he has pleaded guilty in the death of his own brother, Tymere Hale Dial. This happened back in October of 2023 on East 127th Street in Cleveland. It looks like we are close to underway, so let's take you live into court.
686-979 for the court today for sentencing. The state is present, the defense is present. The court did receive a recommendation of sentence that was signed off by the victim representative as well as the defendant, with a range of 18 to 25 years, no early release, meaning no judicial release. I'm prepared to pass sentence. Is there anything from the state?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the victim, Tymere, that is Tyneir, his family is present. I know his mother, Pinky Hale, would like to address the court, so I'd like her to address the court first.
Okay.
Again, a very unique situation here. You have a mother of both individuals in the case, the individual who was shot and killed, and the young man who's about to be sentenced.
My name is Pinky Hale. P-I-N-K-I-H-A-L-E. I just want to make it brief. I just really want to say.
It's okay, take a deep breath.
Okay, breathe.
Take all the time you need.
I just really want to say that I love Rodney so much. I love him so much. And I hate that all this is happening. And I love Tymere so much. And I miss them both so much. And it's just a terrible shit. I don't even know what to say. It's terrible. But that day was the worst day of my life. Because I knew that day I was losing both of my sons. I just can't live like this. And I know he did what he did, and he ruined my life. And he took Tymere's life, and he ruined his own life. He's so young. And I just want to let him know that I love him. No matter what, I love him. And I miss him every day. I miss Tymere every day. But that's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the victim in this case is the defendant, Rodney Curley's brother. He is older. In meeting with Ms. Hale throughout this case and in speaking with her, it's the state of Ohio's understanding that they were moving. Ms. Hale had acquired a new house, and that she had actually been with Rodney for most of the day, moving their furniture, their belongings in a U-Haul. She says Tymere was actually at work and came to the house to help aid them in the moving process. She says they fought like normal brothers do, and on this day, she said she was in the house. Mr. Curley and Tymere, the victim, are in the U-Haul, which was actually parked in the driveway in front of the house. You can see it in the crime scene photos. and that they were just arguing back and forth about where to put things in the house, where things should go in the house, and regular brother stuff. Ms. Hale tells me they come into the house, the argument continues. She doesn't think much of it because she said they're brothers. They always used to argue about little things, and she didn't think much of it. She said she was in the kitchen with Tymir's 1-year-old child. He had a 1-year-old child at the time. And she says they go back out into the U-Haul. She hears from the window that the argument continues, so she actually steps outside to go intervene because they're just arguing, and she said we were new in the neighborhood and we hadn't even been there a day and they're doing their brother stuff. She indicates to me that Tymir made a statement to his brother, Mr. Curley, you're not anything without your gun, and Rodney's response was, I don't fight, I kill. I shoot to kill. And ends up raising the gun and shooting his brother in the shoulder while she, Ms. Hale, Tymir, and Rodney are in the back of the U-Haul vehicle. Ms. Hale indicates to me that Tymir jumps down, is laying on his back, and basically says, all right, knock it off, and Mr. Curley continues to shoot his brother. She said he shot a couple of times in the front, and Tymir turns over to try to get away, and she says, her exact explanation to me was Rodney unloaded his clip on his brother. She indicated to me the gun was pointed at her. That is why we have the count of felonious assault from Ms. Hale. And at that point, it's almost like Rodney realized what had happened and runs away. Tymir is eventually shot 16 times. He has 16 gunshot wounds that the ME counted. And he is dead when the police arrive. Ms. Hale, throughout this process, has always been very respectful, very forthright about what happened, very willing to come in and testify. But she also always indicated to the state of Ohio she didn't want Rodney to lose his life in the way that Tymir did. You know, that life was a tough sentence for her and her family, but that anything lower than 18 to 20 was going to be a slap on the wrist, that Tymir's life would have meant nothing then. When I asked Ms. Hale what Tymir was like, she said he was a ray of light, a breath of fresh air. She said he was always willing to help family members, he was always there. He had a job as a security guard at a local school, and that the school actually shut down for the kids to mourn him when his death occurred. She said he was a good father. She said even though him and Rodney had their squabbles, she thought he was a good brother, and that Rodney and Tymir were night and day. You know, she knew Rodney had problems kind of running in the street, getting into trouble, getting, you know, into the bad crowds, but you know, she always had indicated to me her love for Rodney, but that he took something away from her family that can never be replaced in her son Tymir. And now, like she has addressed to you, both of her sons have lost their life. So the state of Ohio felt that the range was appropriate given Ms. Hale's feelings and the family's feelings and what happened. We don't want it to diminish Tymir's life, but she was always adamant if we don't have to go through everything and replay everything with the trial, she would be okay with these ranges. So that is how we got this case. That is the facts of what happened. And so we ask you to sentence within that range. When I speak with Ms. Hale, there's not a specific number that she gave me. She says no amount of time can be put on Tymir's life. But she also realizes that Rodney's going to have to do that time, no early release. So she felt whatever the court felt was appropriate given the facts of this case. So given that, we don't have a specific number other than within that range. I do know initially Ms. Hale had felt 20, anything less than 20 was maybe diminishing the offense. However, she realizes, you know, Rodney trying to minimize his exposure as best as possible. So given that, we would defer to the court within that range of 18 to 25 years. We ask for 5 calls.
Okay, who wants to speak for the defense? Mr. McDonald.
Your Honor, may it please the court. First of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Hale for her consideration in this case. When I first met Rodney, he realized what happened, realized that he had to take responsibility for this from day one. I'd like to point out that my client has one misdemeanor, and that's it. He's been with Jim and I, he's been very respectful, honest, and has expressed remorse, and knows that he did what was wrong. Within 2 minutes, a family's life has just changed forever, and it's just sad. And I guess I would, Ms. Hale, when she said she loves her son, I think that's awesome. And so I think that would, with that a sentence at the lower end would be appropriate. Then I think, when I talked about 2 minutes, that it just changed. I think what Ms. Vaca said sort of summarizes this case. All of a sudden, Rodney realized what he did. I don't think he really, obviously he knew what he was doing, but I think he just snapped and there was a violent outburst, as we pointed out in the sentencing memorandum. So I'd ask you to take what I said, what we put in the sentencing memorandum, and then listening to my client and fashioning an appropriate sentence. Thank you.
Mr. Curley, do you want to speak? You don't have to if you don't want to. Can you keep your voice up?
Can I turn to them?
Sure.
I want to tell you that I love y'all so much. And I'm sorry. And I hope one day I take it back and we do it the whole day. I promise I love y'all so much. And I don't do anything in the world to take it all back.
You can be seated. So, Mr. Curley, it's such a disturbing case, and there's so many moments that you could have made different decisions, from walking away from an argument to not pulling out a gun to even stopping at one bullet. Why did you keep shooting? If you don't know, you can tell me you don't know. I'm just curious. Do you know why you did?
I really just blacked out.
Judge, he said he blacked out.
When did you realize that you'd killed your brother? The next day? You didn't realize that he was likely dead when you ran? Well, I have received this recommended sentence. You know that if I accept this recommended sentence, whatever sentence I impose, will not only subject you to Reagan Tokes, but will prevent any judicial release in the future. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Count 7, which is the misdemeanor of the first degree, you're sentenced to 120 days in county jail with 120 days served. That sentence is completed. On count 3, the felony of the first degree, the base of the sentence is 10 years with a 3-year gun specification, which is to be served prior to and consecutive to any other term imposed. Reagan Tokes does apply to this count, 5.5 years. PRC is mandatory minimum of 2 to 5 years on that count. On count 4, which is the base merges with count 3, so I'm not sentencing on the base. However, I am sentencing on the gun specification, which is 3 years to be served consecutive to the sentence imposed in count 3. Count 6, a felony of the second degree, the base of the sentence is 4 years plus the 3-year gun specification. That gun specification also be served prior to and consecutive to the base and consecutive to the sentences imposed in counts 4 and 3. This is a total sentence of 23 years. Post-release control is applicable on counts 4 and 6 for a mandatory minimum of 18 months to 3 years. As I stated, Reagan Tokes, I'm sorry, it's 5 years, not 5.5, is applicable on count 3. And as I explained to you at the time of your plea, That's enhancements of the sentence is entirely within the discretion of the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. You understand that, right? If you violate the conditions of post-release control, the parole board must impose an additional prison term for up to 1/2 of any prison term that I've imposed. So your definite sentence is 23 years. With the indefinite portion of Reagan-Tokes, it is 28 years. Fines, fees, and costs are waived. Any questions from the state?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Any questions from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Curley, do you have any questions? Mr. Jenkins?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Dan DeRose with 19 News. Just a terrible sentencing to watch as you see Mr. Curley being taken away, Curley Jr. Taken away to prison for 23 years, Rodney Curley Jr. No chance of parole. You heard his own mother get up there, what a terrible position she is in, saying,
If we can find Fernando, maybe we can get done early.
saying she loves both her son that was about to go to prison and loves her son that was taken away that day back in October of 2023. We're talking about Tamir Hale Dial. She was in a terrible position. We learned a little bit more about what happened. We knew that the family had been moving into a new home in Cleveland and that the two brothers started arguing and that shots were fired. Well, today we learned that during that argument that Rodney had told his brother Tamir that I shoot to kill when they got in that argument. He shot his brother once and his brother went to the ground and tried to say, okay, let's stop. And he proceeded to unload the rest of his clip. He was shot 16 times at the hands of his own brother. You heard the judge ask him, why did you kill your brother? Why did you take it to that level? And he said he blacked out. And then she asked, when did you realize you killed your brother? And he said it was the next day. And in the harsh words of his own mom, she said, that was the worst day of my life. I lost both my sons that day. And you heard, though, the prosecuting attorney saying that after speaking with the mother, she wanted a harsh sentence. She didn't want it to be 10 years, felt that would be a slap on the wrist, but didn't want him to get life with no chance of parole. And so that's where the judge, there had been a spoken upon agreement in the plea deal somewhere between 18 to 25 years. The judge landing on 23 years for Rodney Curley Jr. We will have a complete wrap-up of this and all of the day's news when we start at 5 o'clock today. CBS has soccer, so we will see you at 5 when we start Cleveland 19 News and weather. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News. Have a good afternoon.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps